Mr. Larry.
Yes, Aisha, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. It's been quite a year, but we've just managed to go on. You get my age, and you just got to deal with everything that comes along.
Yep, you do what you can. Are you based in the Los Angeles area?
Yeah, I was raised here. I'm a Valley boy. I was raised in the Valley, grew up in North Hollywood, and we live in a suburb of Los Angeles, Palmdale right now, my wife and I, so not too far from there.
Definitely. And can you tell us about what you've been up to recently with the Standells?
Well, we've been a number of things. Number one, we've been working on a new album. It's the first album in over 45 years, and it's been quite a challenge. And we've had a number of detours along the way. But we started up, believe it or not, recording in a studio in San Francisco.
Interesting.
And it didn't work out. The studio was great, but we had a problem with one of the members, and so everything we recorded we couldn't use, and so we had to start all over again. And so we built our own studio in a garage, by the way. It has to be in a garage. The Foo Fighters, their Grammy Award-winning album was recorded in a garage.
Yep.
And so us being, kind of the forerunners to garage rock, we had to do it in a garage. So we built a studio, and we've been getting just the greatest sound in there. And so we've got roughly 7 songs done. We need at least about 10 songs to complete the album. But we keep on having these interruptions along the way, so we get back to it when we can, but we hope to have the album done by the end of the year.
Got it. And what brought about this upcoming tour that you have? You're going to be playing in Oakland at the Uptown Nightclub on November 17th?
Yeah. Great.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. And how can people find out more about the band? Do you guys have a online web presence?
You can go to we have a Facebook page, and that's really active. We've got close to 3,600 fans, and from all over the world, by the way, and we constantly update on there. People have questions, they contact us, and so we've got that going. We've got a MySpace page. I mean, we've got just about everything. And I try to keep active with all of it. I think you can go any place online and see and read about the Standells. If you were to do a search on the internet, for instance, there's something like a Google search. There's something like 50,000 entries on there. I mean, you could just go page and page and page of the Standells, of mention of the Standells in something or another, and it's pretty. We have a pretty unusual following for the group. And I think a lot of it has to do with our image, from that we set back in the '60s, kind of the punk image, and some people know the group as the godfathers of punk rock. Although, punk rock of today is I think it's about as far from us as heavy metal. It's we're kind of. In fact, there's some heavy metal groups that were influenced by us, like Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses love us. So ours was just basic rock and roll. We had a certain sound, and there was no particular brand for it back then. We just thought it was rock and roll, but later on they named it punk rock, and then a little later on they named it garage rock. So But if you look on the internet, you'll find, like I said, thousands of links to mention of the Standells and articles and things like that. If you were to go on YouTube, there's there's like I think at least 100 entries, if not 200 entries of the Standells, and there are various video clips. Everything from early TV shows we did, not put up by us, but put up by fans, and
right.
Or they'll put up an album cut that we did, some obscure thing that we did. It's up there. So we have quite a following on YouTube too.
Definitely. Who were some of your favorite bands that you played with back in the 60s?
Oh, back in the 60s, well, I got to say, the Stones, we toured with them for, a month and a half.
Wow.
And they were absolutely, our favorite group. That was quite a wild tour, by the way. We were with them, when Brian Jones was with them. And I gotta tell you, Isha, that if you would have told me back then, or somebody would have told me that these guys would still be alive today, I would have said you're crazy. I mean, they were quite a wild bunch, and not that we weren't, but they were quite wild, and that we were in a chartered plane, and there was us, the McCoys. Rick Derridge is a very good friend, and the Trade Winds, and we were all in this plane. We did like 2 cities a day, and for a month and a half, and we went everywhere. We fly into. I mean, we did so many cities I lost track of them. But there is, if you go to like Garage Hangover, a website called Garage Hangover, they list a lot of the venues we did.
Wow. Crazy memories. And what was your favorite city to play in besides Los Angeles?
Well, it had to be, Boston, because our biggest hit was Dirty Water, and that was all about Boston. And when we went up there with the Stones, I mean, they went nuts when we did Dirty Water, and I still remember today, as a matter of fact, that at one point, not when we were up, but when the Stones were up there, they had all the kids started rushing the stage, and the cops there, they had to shoot off tear gas, and so I mean, it's this tear gas all over the place, and it not only got the fans, but we withdrew to our tour bus to take us back to the airport, and it still seeped in there, and our eyes were watering, and I know that it was absolutely mayhem, and a good friend of ours, as a matter of fact, was in that crowd. Who's his name is Bill Nowlin. He's with a big record label right now. I can't think for the life of me think of it, but he co-wrote our biography. It's we have a book out, and he wrote it along with another author, and basically about us and about the Boston Red Sox, tying the two together. It's called the Standells, and their improbable Red Sox victory anthem, and they wrote, they interviewed us quite extensively, and they got a lot of inside stories and quite a lot of funny things that happened along the way.
Definitely. And what can people expect to hear from the new album that's different from what you guys have done, I guess, in the past?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Isha. We have really tried to sound like the Standells of the 60s. Maybe some things are updated, but the people, we have samples. If anyone were to go to our Facebook page or go to YouTube, they could listen to samples of some of our new songs, and they would be able to identify that it is the Standells, and we pretty much, are recognizable there. We still hit on, pretty much the same type of subjects that we did back then. If you remember, I mean, some of our songs were pretty much, pretty much represented the working class, and sometimes good guys don't wear white. It starts off with "I'm a poor boy born in a rubble," and some of my friends ain't the best, and it's kind of, I think a lot of average people, working class people, could identify with our songs, and the songs that we record now are the same. In fact, we've got a couple of our songs are really kind of aimed at in support of the occupation people. And there's one called Mr. 1%, and it really slams the greedy and the wealthiest 1%, and it's kind of a comedy though, in that it makes fun of them, but it still speaks about a very important subject. And then we have another one that's called what is it called?
Too many.
It's about the same subject, and it's called "It's All About the Money." And again, it talks of the song, and I co-wrote that one. I wrote the first one, and I sang them both. But it talks about how our society is based upon how much money you can get rather than how you relate to people.
Right.
And what you can do to contribute to society. So we kind of touch on those same subjects, and we have other songs that have a little bit more fun, and but they're not that they're not fun, but they approach other subjects like getting together and partying and that kind of thing, and which we sang about back then too. So they're going to pretty much identify with what we're doing now as the Standells of the '60s.
Got it. And what bands are going to be playing with you at the Uptown on November 17th?
I'm looking right now, and I'll be able to tell you in a minute. It's Lord. It's Sir Lord Von Raven and Lotus Moons and DJ Zola.
DJ Zola sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it says DJ Zola, and some people are pretty excited about the lineup. They have an event page on Facebook, and they talk about it, and some people were pretty excited about one of the other groups that were on it.
Mhm. And tell us a little bit about the tour that you did in Europe in 2010. How was that?
Oh, that was crazy. We started off in Madrid, and we did a big concert there. It was sold out about 2 weeks in advance. We immediately hopped on a plane and went down to Scenes, France. That's right, right by Bordeaux, and we did a concert there. And then we drove. We had a tour van that we drove through France, and we got to drive through Bordeaux, and it's just some of the most beautiful country. So we went to a lot of cities along the way. We finally went to Paris. And did a concert there at the Le Trebendo, and then we took the train to London. We did a big concert there, and then we did the BBC Six. We appeared there, and we performed live, and we did our songs live on BBC Six.
Awesome.
And I got to say, they sounded pretty good. They sounded pretty much like the originals, which it's pretty hard for groups now. We have samples of those songs that I think people can hear on our web page, and I think they can hear them also on our MySpace page. They can hear samples of those songs that we did. We did Dirty Water, of course, and we did Good Guys and Right on Sunset Strip. And they really came out great. So we went from there. We went down to we flew. I should say down. I don't know up from down, but we flew to Oslo. We went from there up to Athens. Did a huge concert there, and every concert we did, we had at least one encore. In Athens, we had two encores. I mean, we ran out of songs practically. We were up there for almost 2 hours on the stage. They wouldn't let us up. And then we went from there to Frankfurt and played in a club there, and then back home. So we were gone almost a month altogether. Oh, we also did Berlin, and I'm sure I left out some other clubs. We did a show there, and it was quite exhausting, I got to tell you, because we had to catch planes a lot of the time, and they aren't the easiest thing nowadays like they used to be. I mean,
right.
Back in the 60s, we'd fly on planes, and of course they didn't have the body checks and everything else that goes with it. And geez, when you're a bunch of musicians and you're carrying some of your instruments around, they got to check your instruments, and then we're all kind of suspicious looking anyway, so they do the body searches.
There's no way of getting around it.
Yeah, no matter what age you are, if you're a musician, you're going to get searched. So you just kind of expect it, and so it was. I mean, sometimes. Like when we went from Oslo to Madrid, we got absolutely, I think, the equivalent of about 2 hours sleep. And I thought, I'd sleep on the plane on the way to Madrid, But wouldn't you know, I was sitting right in front of a bunch of German tourists. And all the way to Madrid, they go, oh, look at the here, oh, that is good, oh, yeah, all the way. And they were hovering over me because the people behind me were, all their buddies, and there must have been about a dozen of them or something on the same plane. And so I got absolutely no sleep, and wouldn't you believe that was one of our best shows, was the one in Madrid. It just goes to show you, music is music, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. So we got it was I think Nashville, and we made our connection there. And and again, I got very little sleep, and I thought I'd sleep on the plane coming back. And again, I was sat in front of a woman and her 3 kids, and they're all about 7, 8 years, 9 years old, and misbehaved terribly all the way to L.A. And so we were absolutely exhausted. I think all of us slept for about 2 days when we got back.
Oh, God, crazy. And I have one more question for you.
Sure.
What was it like playing on The Munsters, the TV show?
Oh, we get a lot of questions about that, and incidentally, people can see that on YouTube. There's several clips from the Munsters on there. What a lot of people don't realize, we get a lot of questions from people. Well, why didn't you do your hits? Why are you doing the Beatles song? We did I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Yes.
And we got a lot of questions about that. Well, the fact was, we did the show before we were ever famous. They were looking for a rock group to act and to sing on the show, and it was through a whole bunch of connections that they found us, and we played ourselves, and we basically, we were given lines, and we were given songs to sing. It's not as though we had our pick. They told us what songs to sing, and so that's what we did. And it was I got to tell you, it was such a thrill for me at the time because Munsters was honestly my favorite show.
Right.
I watched them faithfully every week, except, of course, when we were on tour or playing. We mostly played in clubs back then. And so, being able to do the show was just like a dream for me. I mean, it was the same as the Standells, appearing on at the World Series. We performed at the World Series in 2004.
Right.
And it was that big of a thrill for me because here they were. I mean, Fred Gwynne, Yvonne DiCarlo, just the greatest people. Butch, what's his last name? Cassidy. What's his last name? It was Eddie Munster.
Yes.
He's a Facebook friend, and they were great people. Aside from getting to work with some major names, they were just really wonderful people to work with. The hardest thing for us was we had to act in it, of course, and a couple of us, well, Dick and me, both had acting experience, but we had to if anybody that saw this one, there was one thing they show on YouTube where it's kind of like a beatnik party. I mean, they didn't. It was kind of right around the transition between beatniks and hippies, and a lot of times they would get them confused back there, and they had people that looked like more like beatniks to me than hippies. There's one guy playing the bongos, and they were doing poetry, which was very. I mean, that was really beatnikish back in the 50s in the coffee houses and everything.
Yes.
And so they were doing this, and they were in the show. They were got up and recited some very far out poetry, and then they, of course, the idea was that Herman Munster and the family returned to their home after having rented it out to us for the weekend. They returned to their home, and they found this wild party going on there, and they're outraged at first, but then they're accepted by all these freakish people,
Right.
They're accepted as one of them, and that's the joke, is that they were accepted by all these far-out people. And so then they call Herman Munster up to first they call up Lily, Yvonne DiCarlo, and she sings a beautiful song, and she actually sang that. She was on Broadway for years, and so she sings a beautiful song. Then they call up Herman Munster, and he recites this. He makes up this poem as he goes along. And it is the absolute funniest thing, and we had to keep straight faces. And they had because they had shots of us, so we had to look like we were really into this. It was so deep, And here we were. We just wanted to crack up, and roll on the floor. But you have to force it. So we got through it, and anybody that goes to YouTube will be able to see that scene with him reciting the poetry.
That's really great. Well, it was a pleasure to speak with you, Larry.
Well, same here, Isha. We hope to, meet you at the Uptown, and along with others. We'll be there. We'll have merchandise, and we'll have T-shirts and all sorts of goodies for everybody.
Awesome, and that's going to be happening on November 17th. Not too far away now.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, it's not too far away now. It's just a couple weeks away.
It's on the 17th, and we're really looking forward to it. Like I said, it has a great reputation, and they have a lot of people that come. And the other thing is we're going to have a meet and greet for anybody that buys advance tickets. So we'd encourage those out there to buy the advance tickets. There is a discount for them, as we understand it, rather than paying at the door. And then we'll have a meet and greet for those. That's not our idea. But we're going to have a meet and greet with those people.
That's great. And if people want to find out more about you, they should go to the Facebook page for
they can
Standells?
go to the Facebook /Standells, and or just go to Facebook and search out Standells. We're the first thing that comes up, the only thing. There's no other, either that or me, since I'm the co-founder of the group. And we also have a web page. It's standellsofficial.com. And we, like I said, we have a MySpace, we have Sonic Bids, we have Reverb Nation, we have roughly about 10 different places they can find out information about Standells.
That's great. Well, it was a pleasure to talk to you today, and I hope you have a great evening.
Well, thank you, Isha. It's really a pleasure to talk with you.
All right. I'll be talking to you soon, hopefully.
Okay.
Okay, have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, Isha. Then I'll disconnect now. Thanks.
Bye.